Hello friends, many people think HTML and CSS are very easy, so let's not prepare them. And that's my point. What will happen if you are not able to answer a very simple HTML question in an interview? Like I was once asked in an interview, what are semantic elements in HTML? And I said I am a full stack developer, not an HTML developer. So you can understand how was the my first impression, right, in interview. So why to take that risk? Let's quickly revise top interview questions in HTML, CSS and Bootstrap. Now let me show you the structure of this course. Here first 7 topics are from HTML starting and I from said the basics. I am a full. Then there are 2 topics from CSS and last topic is Bootstrap. Total 10 topics questions covered in a step-by-step manner in learning sequence. Okay, this course is primarily for experienced students, but even if you are beginner, you can easily understand all the questions. Now let me just quickly show you a sample question. Mostly I will explain with the help of the code for practicality, then diagrams for better understanding, and finally very minimum and to the point theory, so that later you can revise very quickly without even listening to the full explanations. Before starting, with those who don't know, I started maintaining a board in my home wall. Here I am putting the comments of subscriber whom my videos helped in getting the offer and cracking the interview. So whenever you get the job or offer, just post a comment. Okay, right now the comment count is around 50 and my target is to correct 1000 comments. You and I can reach our goals by having only one thing. What are the differences between HTML and HTML5 and what are the advantages of HTML5? First, let's explore HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. What is the meaning of each letter here? Let me first show you a very basic HTML document first. Here in HTML document, hyper stands for the anchor or hyperlink element in HTML. Text stands for the text we provide in our HTML documents using H1, H2, headings, paragraphs, etc. Now you might ask, we also have so many other elements in HTML like the nav, the table, what about them? Actually, when HTML was introduced in 1990s, hyperlink and text were the only main elements in HTML. Therefore, in the name of HTML, only hyperlinks and texts are mentioned. Other elements are introduced later. Now you will ask, what is the meaning of markup language? Markup language means a language that defines the structure of a document using elements like headings, paragraphs, link, lists, etc. Remember just the structure of the document, nothing else. Like a Word document, HTML is also more like a document only. Therefore, HTML is just a markup language, it's not a programming language. A programming language is a language where we define variables and functions to perform some logic or operation, okay? For example, JavaScript, Java, C# are programming languages. But HTML is just a markup language to structure the web page, okay? So finally, what is HTML? HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language, is the standard markup language used to create web pages. Other than HTML, XML is also a markup language which is also used to just structure the document. Now here are the 2 more points about HTML that I already explained actually, but I written it here in the document so that it can be used for a quick revision later. Now let's explore what is the difference between HTML and HTML5 by comparing the codes. First of all, HTML5 is HTML only. Okay, they are same actually. But old HTML was different. Here is the old HTML code which was released up to HTML4. And here is the HTML5 code for the same version or same old HTML, okay? And you can see the differences between them. You can see how the doc type written in our old HTML is very long with version number 4.01, and in HTML5 doc type is just HTML, no 5, nothing is required here. It is short and simple. Also in the new HTML we have this header section and many more elements which were not there in old HTML. These newly introduced elements in HTML5 makes a HTML document more structured. Alright, the whole point is HTML5 is the fifth and the latest version of HTML. Going forward, whenever I say HTML, that means I am talking about HTML5 only, okay? Finally, let's quickly see the 5 advantages of HTML5 over the old HTML one by one. First is HTML5 introduced new semantic elements like header, nav, article, section, and many more. We will discuss these elements in detail in upcoming questions. Second, HTML5 introduced forms with input types. Okay, for example, type equals to date type, email type, etc. Third, HTML5 supports audio and video by using audio and video elements. Fourth, HTML5 provides mobile compatible code. So not just laptop compatible, but mobile compatible also. The last advantage is writing code in HTML5 is simpler than writing code in the old HTML. We will cover separate questions on all of these advantages in upcoming questions. But now you are like more confident about what is HTML, what is the difference between HTML and HTML5, and what are the advantages of HTML5, right? And confidence is only what matters the most in the interviews. What is the difference between HTML and XHTML? Let's understand by comparing their codes. First, this is the code of HTML, or we can say HTML5. And here is the code of XHTML. First of all, XHTML is not a version of HTML. It's altogether a different and separate markup language for creating web pages. Okay. Actually, XHTML was created before HTML5 to cover some gaps in old HTML. Basically, XHTML is a combination of XML and HTML. At the top, you can see XML version 1.0. Then the doc type and HTML tag is so long here, which is not looking good, right? So basically this combination of HTML and XML has been done to follow some rules from XML in HTML, okay? But then after some time HTML5 was introduced and launched, which is shorter, simpler, and more powerful than this XHTML. Therefore XHTML is not so much in use now. The definition is XHTML, which stands for Extensible Hypertext Markup Language, is a markup language that follows the rules of XML, remember, to define the structure of web pages. That is the idea. Now let's see the three main differences between HTML and HTML. First, HTML or HTML5 has more lenient syntax rule. For example, this image tag does not have a closing tag, and that's okay. It is not recommended, but it will work in HTML. Whereas XHTML follow strict syntax rules like XML. All tags must be properly nested and closed like this image tag. Second difference is HTML is not case sensitive. For example, capital tags like this will work, but again not recommended. Whereas XHTML is case sensitive and only small letter tags will work. The third and last difference is that HTML is widely supported by all the web browsers and web platforms, whereas XHTML has some limited support by browsers. Okay, great. Now you know by heart the differences between XHTML and HTML, right? What is the purpose of doc type in HTML? Here you can see the code for very short and simple HTML5 code, and at the top of it is a doc type HTML statement. What does doc type means here? Doc type, which stands for document type, declaration, it specifies the version of HTML. For example, just this doc type HTML means the version is HTML5. Okay, we need not to write here 5, okay, explicitly. Why we need it? Because doc type tells the browsers which version of HTML it is and how to interpret the code. So if browser know the version of HTML, then it will behave accordingly to the rules, as per the rules of HTML5 only. Okay, we also have some other document types also like this. See here, first doc type line is HTML 4.01 version, which is basically the old HTML. Then the second kind is XHTML 1.0. So there are other versions also, but we are not interested in them anymore. So because now we have the last one and the most preferred one, which is HTML5. In 99% cases, you will see only this document type in the HTML web page. Okay, clear? So that was the answer and the requirement of the doc type in our HTML. Hi, here is a quick notification. If you are the kind of person who does not want to miss anything during their interviews, then first topics, concepts of Java, DF were able to crack the interviews by you again with. What will happen if you remove the doc type HTML from your HTML5? In that case, browsers like Chrome or Edge can still render the page, but they will not able to validate the version of HTML. Therefore, it may lead to some compatibility issues with the SEO or debugging at later point of time. Okay, and the same answer I have also written down here so that it can be used for quick revision later. What is the difference between head and body in HTML? Where to place JavaScript link reference? Again, here is the code for a simple HTML, and here we have two things. One is head and other is body. What is the difference? The answer is head element is where you place all the meta information. Meta information means information about your HTML document. For example, if you have a book, then title of the book, author of the book, and index of the book. This is all the information about the book, right? Not the actual book content. So that is meta information. Similarly, in the head element of HTML, title represent the title of web page, and you can also place here like the style sheets, the JavaScript file references or CSS references. So some meta elements like keywords, description, cat set, I will explain them in another question. So basically the head element is all about the meta information about your HTML. That's it. So similarly, like a book has all its actual content inside it, in HTML also the body element is where you place the actual content of your HTML web page. For example, div tags, h1, paragraph, images, hyperlinks, etc. All these are elements are responsible for containing the actual content of your HTML web page, right? So that was the answer of the first part. Second was where to place the JavaScript link reference. It depends. When the website loads, then first the head will load and then the body will load. Therefore, if you are manipulating HTML elements in your JavaScript functions, okay, then place the JavaScript link at the end of the body section, because until then all the elements will be loaded. Else, if you are not manipulating the HTML elements in your JavaScript function, then just place it inside the head tag. Same will be has been written here for later revision, later reference and quick revision. What is title tag in HTML? What are the four advantages of it? Here is the HTML and the title tag inside it. Definition is very simple. The title tag in HTML is used to define the title of the web page. For example, this is the HTML code and the web page of it looks something like this. In the window title, you will find the exact same title that you have mentioned in your HTML document. In other words, you can also say that the title is like the name of your web page. Now the question is, what are the advantages? Four advantages are there. First is title is used for window titles. Okay, title element text is displayed in the title window or tab of the browser. Second advantage is SEO. Search engines like Google use the title tag as the main heading for the search results. Okay, so when you type something in Google search box and press search, then first Google will find and match your input text with all the titles of the web pages available with Google, and then the result list will be displayed in front of you. There are other factors for SEO also, but title match with the user input search text is the main one. Third advantage is bookmark, favorite name. Title tag is used as the default name for the bookmarks. Okay. And the last advantage is social media sharing. The title tag is often used as the default title whenever you are sharing any post with anyone. Great. That's all about the information about the title tag. What are meta tags? What are the 5 types of meta tags? Good question. Here you can see the code of a simple meta tag cat set. Definition: meta tags in HTML are elements used to provide metadata or additional information about a web page. 5 types of meta tags we can have like this. Let's quickly understand the purpose of all of these. Here you can see all the meta elements and their attributes. The first tag is cat set, which is important for character encoding. Basically what it does, this specify character encoding means which helps browser to interpret the different characters in the document. This cat set UTF-8 attribute, what it ensure is that characters from different languages will be displayed correctly for your website in the browser. That is the role of this cat set. Different languages it can handle. Okay. Now because many websites have have support to multiple languages, right? So that's why it's so important. Second meta tag, viewport, is important for responsive design. It's very crucial for like mobile friendly responsive web designs for various screen size, right? If you remove this tag, then your website can give problems in different mobile screens. Also, I later covers the separate question for all the attributes of the meta viewport element also. Third meta tag is description, which is important for SEO. This provides a description of the content of the page. It is something little bit more than the title. So search engines may use this for the search result. Okay. Now, fourth is the keywords. It is important for the SEO again, but this meta tag nowadays is less importance, means I think now we don't need it, but yes, I keep it here to just for the information. It's a kind of meta tag. Then the last meta tag is author info. Again, it's a very optional, just to specify the author of the document. Again, this keywords and author are optional, but the first two, the description and the viewport and the cat set, those are very important. Okay, all right, that's the brief something about the meta tags. Great, and congrats on finishing the last chapter. Keep going and never give up on your goals. Until now, you already knew that HTML was like a document, like a Word document. And like a document, it has elements. Okay, like Word have these words, statements, paragraphs. Similarly, HTML also have many elements. And here are the 7 questions about the most important and elements in HTML. What are HTML elements? Span, paragraph, anchor, break. Maybe you already familiar with some of them, but remember, a one-time revision is very important to gain more confidence. Therefore, we will go through them at a very fast pace to revise them quickly. So let's start with the first question. What are HTML elements? What is the difference between an element and a tag? Here is a simple HTML, a simple head element, inside that a title element and a body element, and inside that we have many elements. Now the question is whether these are elements or tags. Suppose here is a paragraph. Here P inside this angular bracket is the beginning, is the opening tag, okay, and slash P at the end is the closing tag. The content between these two tags is called the content or text. Now as a whole, from start to finish, this is what HTML element. Okay, so tags are just the part of the element, but yes, sometimes we use the name tags and elements, their names interchangeably. Okay, but now you know the reality. Now here is the first conclusion about the elements. HTML elements are the building block of web pages. For example, in this HTML document, it consists of elements only, right? The HTML is root element, this head element, which contains more element, title, then there is a body which contains h1, all h1 list, paragraph, all these are just elements. So an HTML document is nothing but a combination of various elements only.